Hi guys, it's Michelle, and today's video is going to be yet another childhood ruining conspiracy theories video for you guys. Honestly, I always say like different videos are my favorite to film, but I do think that these are genuinely like very up there just because I love nostalgia. I love anything talking about like my favorite TV shows and movies that I loved as a kid. And there are so many conspiracy theories surrounding our favorite movies and TV shows that just completely ruin your freaking childhood. Without further ado, let's get into it, but also leave me in the comments below any other TV shows or movies like from the past that you want me to cover in a future one of these videos, because there's honestly conspiracies everywhere for every TV show and movie ever. And honestly, I've just been doing some of my favorites, but I would love to hear what you guys watch so I can get some theories in there for you as well. But without further ado, let's get into it. SpongeBob is a classic, and there is a conspiracy theory about SpongeBob that I find so interesting. It honestly kind of freaked me out. So obviously SpongeBob has been on for a lot of years, so of course there's naturally going to be a lot of conspiracies surrounding it, but there are two very big conspiracies about SpongeBob that have yet to be answered. The first one is like what is in the Krabby Patty secret formula, and the second one is who is Pearl's real parent. And this conspiracy theory answers both of those questions in one, and I've never heard it before, so let's talk about it. So obviously Pearl is a whale and Mr. Krabs is a crab, and we've talked about like some funny theories about how he's her sugar daddy, other various theories about how the reason that there's no other crabs in the Bikini Bottom is because the crab meat is what is the secret formula ingredient. But I thought this theory made so much sense, and again answers both questions just like in one. So in season 9 of SpongeBob, there's an episode where they are doing like a whole jailbreak, and basically we see a whale that is in jail, and according to this theory, that is Pearl's biological father. The reason that Pearl's dad is in jail, according to the theory, is because he murdered Pearl's mother. And who was the one who happened upon this crime scene other than Mr. Krabs himself? So when Mr. Krabs stumbled upon the crime scene, because he is such a money-hungry man, that he saw this as an opportunity, because when a whale dies, its carcass can literally fuel an entire ecosystem for like years, like very long amount of time. So it's believed that Mr. Krabs decided to take a bad situation and benefit from it, I guess, and he decided to make the Krusty Krab restaurant and uses pieces of Pearl's mother's body in the Krabby Patties, and that is the secret formula. I hate it. I hate this theory. I think it makes kind of a lot of sense because Mr. Krabs is always going to see a money opportunity wherever he goes. And you might be thinking, like, this is a little sadistic considering he decided to raise this child as his own while he's actively making Krabby Patties, probably feeding them to Pearl as well, that are made of her mother. But it gets worse. The theory continues that the only reason that Mr. Krabs adopted Pearl is so that Mr. Krabs will eventually run out of her mother's meat, so he will kill Pearl so that he can continue on making Krabby Patties and fueling the Bikini Bottom. I hate it because not only is it sad for the mom, but it's also just like crazy of Mr. Krabs. But I do believe there is, regardless, something going on between like with the Krabby Patty secret formula that has to do with it either being crab meat, which would make sense because there's no other crabs in the Bikini Bottom, or this whale theory does make a lot of sense. I want to hear your guys' thoughts on it because I kind of believe it. All right, the next theory I want to talk about is all about The Incredibles. The Incredibles is an iconic Disney movie, and I saw this theory attached to it that was super interesting, and I actually really believe it. So it's basically the theory that Syndrome's initial target was actually Frozone and not Mr. Incredible. So in the beginning of the movie, we see Mirage monitoring Frozone's activity. It's made clear that she doesn't really know who Mr. Incredible is because she keeps referring to him as the fat one. As we know, Omnidroids are pre-programmed to fight specific superheroes and use their powers against them. And when we see Mr. Incredible fight the first Omnidroid, it tries to destroy him by throwing him into lava. Obviously, Mr. Incredible ends up beating the Omnidroid, so it just doesn't really make sense as to why they didn't use Mr. Incredible's like strength or any of his powers or weaknesses against him and instead used fire, which is not one of his weaknesses. But whose weakness is that? Frozone. So Frozone's powers don't work if there's too much heat involved, if he's dehydrated. They just won't work at all. So it's believed that the Omnidroid was actually specifically designed to lead Frozone to the volcano, where he would be destroyed by the Omnidroid because there's no way that he would be able to use his powers because he is by lava. But instead, it ended up accidentally leading Mr. Incredible there, and he was able to fight the Omni Droid, and therefore Frozone would have been killed off in the beginning of these movies. And I just think this is such an interesting theory, and I feel like it has to be true. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this because it freaked me out. The next couple theories come from Shrek. There's an interesting theory about the fairy godmother that I actually really believe. So as we know, Fiona's curse is essentially that she becomes an ogre at night. So the theory is that the fairy godmother was the one who actually placed the curse on Princess Fiona, and the only way that this curse could be broken was if Fiona had a true love's kiss. And that's why they kept Fiona hidden away, so that nobody would see her in her ogre form, so that it would be easier for someone to fall in love with her. So Fiona's parents sought out help from the fairy godmother, who convinced them to keep Fiona locked up in the castle, where she would wait for her true love to rescue her. So what Fiona's mother, Queen Lillian, didn't know was that this was 100% intentional and approved by King Harold himself, because King Harold and the fairy godmother had a deal. So it was revealed that many years ago, fairy godmother actually transformed King Harold from frog to human form so that he could marry Queen Lillian. And he did this under the deal that their future daughter would marry the fairy godmother's son, which is none other than Prince Charming. That part of the story is canon, like we know that that's true, but what is believed is the reason that Fiona has this curse of looking like an ogre at night is because the fairy godmother put the curse on her in the first place so that she could ensure that nobody would want to marry Fiona or fall in love with her truly, and therefore she could get her son to know that the curse would be broken once, you know, they fell in love, and then she would turn into a human forever after their first true love's kiss. And basically conspiracy theorists think that the fairy godmother just had very wicked intentions and made this deal with King Harold, was the one who cursed Fiona, was the one who told Fiona's parents to keep her locked up and guarded by a dragon whom she believed only her son could rescue her from, so that she would become part of the royal family, which was her overall goal, and she wanted to rise to power. Obviously, this didn't end up working because Shrek. Like, half of it is actually true and part of the plot of the story, but it makes so much sense that I think that fairy godmother was the one to put the spell on Fiona, because she can reverse these spells, because she did it with King Harold. She turned him in from a frog to a human. So theoretically, if she knows how to reverse these spells, she probably also knows how to cast them. And I just think it makes a lot of sense. How else would the fairy godmother be able to convince her parents to keep this beautiful young princess locked up? This next little Shrek, like, sad moment, actually, like, I can't think about it for too long because I will get upset, and I don't know what this is. But if somebody could please explain to me why I get sad about, like, inanimate cartoon characters, like, having feelings, like, please let me know what that is. Like, this, I always use this example, but for Animal Crossing, you would go to the museum after you caught a bug or a fish or whatever and gave it to the owl. Every time, he would ask if I wanted to hear more about the facts about the bug, and I would always say yes because I felt bad saying no. Like, it's not a real person, it's literally an NPC. Like, I don't understand. This theory makes me feel like that. Like, honestly, I could probably cry about it if I thought about it for too long, and maybe that's just a Cancer Moon thing, but let's get into it. So there is a theory that Shrek actually didn't have a name before Donkey asked him.
Man, I like you. What's your name?
Shrek.
Shrek?
Shrek has been alone for so long that nobody has asked him what his name was, and he forgot. Like, he, like, forgot for a second, like, was like, oh, because nobody has asked. I actually can't. I can't think about that. I want to give him a hug. I can't. I guess actually not theory, but more childhood ruining fact about Shrek was that Shrek was used as a punishment for the DreamWorks animators who were slacking off. Shrek was predicted to be just like a huge flop. They thought there was no way in hell that this movie would be successful at all. And when they first started working on it, DreamWorks animators who were failing at their work or, you know, fucked up or slacked off on a project, they literally were sent to go work on Shrek. And they even called the act of this happening getting Shrek'd. The worst thing you could hear as a DreamWorks animator in like the early 2000s was that you were going to work on Shrek. I just think that's so crazy, and honestly kind of iconic for my slackers, because they created the best fucking DreamWorks movie. I really love that for them. All right, next we have some theories about Coraline. As you guys know, Coraline is one of those movies that really scared a lot of people as a child. There is this TikTok account, and I'm gonna link her content below, because if you're into Coraline conspiracy theories, you'll definitely want to check her out. She has been like combing through this movie, trying to find every hidden detail and conspiracy surrounding the movie, because the producers and the creators of Coraline have made it very clear that every single thing in the movie is extremely intentional. I honestly love any Coraline theories that have to do with the cat, because I just feel like the cat has so many question marks surrounding him, and like I can't believe they haven't made like a part 2 yet, like where like they explain all of this. I don't know if they ever will. Basically, there is a theory about the cat and the Beldams relationship that is very interesting, and I kind of believe it. So as we know, the Beldam is a creature that takes on the form of the other mother, but we also see her as looking like a creepy skeleton bug kind of bitch. In folklore, Beldams are actually witches in fairy tales that are dedicated to using dark and evil magic. So it's a common trope that a black cat is often a witch's familiar, which a familiar is basically a sort of attendant given to the witch, usually by another witch or by the devil. Like, it's like not really known where the familiar specifically comes from, but it's not really something that either the familiar or the witch chooses for their life. The theory continues with the fact that the cat can only talk in the other world, but not in the real world. Also, this cat does not have button eyes, and it is believed that is because the Beldam didn't want to hurt the cat, because it is at the end of the day her familiar and she needs him to continue her witchcraft. We also know from the cat that the cat loves playing games with the Beldam. The Beldam loves playing games honestly overall, and even though she hates cats, she still has yet to like absolutely obliterate this cat. Like, I mean, she was killing children. Obviously killing a cat would be like an easier feat, but nonetheless the Beldam never takes opportunity that she has to hurt or kill the cat. And she also chooses to let the cat come and go as he pleases, which is again not really making sense why she wouldn't want this cat just like gone. This theory also explains why the cat goes back to the other world at the end of the movie, because that is essentially his home. He was given the ability to be able to speak and like have thoughts and a soul in the other world by the Beldams. Makes sense why he would, you know, want to reside there most of the time. That's where his powers like come in. I just think that this theory makes so much sense, because I feel like the Beldam, like, again, has so many opportunities to kill this damn cat. If it was really becoming that much of a bother to her, why wouldn't she have just killed it? And the answer is because she reluctantly needs it. That's her familiar. And I love this theory. I think it's so interesting and I believe it. But let me know your thoughts. All right, the next theory I want to talk about has to do with Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I love Diary of a Wimpy Kid. I really loved the Pop Tropica game Diary of a Wimpy Kid. But there is a theory about Greg Heffley that is so damn interesting, and I kind of believe it. So the conspiracy theory goes that Greg Heffley is actually a sociopath. If you think about it, this makes a lot of damn sense. Greg Heffley is the most selfish little bastard ever. He's completely masked by being this wimpy kid. Oh, he's shut up. Like, literally shut up. Greg has a complete lack of remorse. He fails to display any sign of empathy. He manipulates situations and basically only performs acts of kindness when it benefits him for his own personal gain. He just shows like really narcissistic tendencies, but the way that he manipulates people and the way that he sees his friends as like stepping stones for what he can use and get out of them, it's giving sociopath. It's giving narcissism. I don't know. Like, after Greg literally broke Rowley's arm, instead of him like feeling remorse or being like, oh my god, I'm so sorry, like anything, any guilt or anything, he just wanted to take advantage of Rowley's newfound popularity to constantly continue manipulating situations so that Rowley took the blame for a lot of his wrongdoings and Greg was the one who was benefiting. Also, this specific scene where Rowley like kind of pops off on Greg is such an example of like a people pleaser being like done with their fucking narcs shit.
I'm not a good friend. Whoa, how could you even say that? I'm a great friend. If you were a great friend, you would have told Mr. Winsky the truth. Okay, one thing. You can't get mad about this. You only care about yourself. You hated my cartoon. You made fun of my clothes. You disrespected Joshi. You broke my hand and you didn't even seem sorry. That broken hand was the best thing that ever happened to you. Don't call me. Don't come by my house. We're done.
Just love it. I love it. I think that this theory is so true. Like, there is no way that this isn't real. But yeah, let me know your thoughts on that, especially if you're like a huge Diary of a Wimpy Kid fan. I need to know your thoughts because I believe this full-heartedly and I will go to bat against Greg Heffley. So if anyone wants to go to bat for Greg Heffley, let me know. Let's fight. The last two theories that we're going to be talking about has to do with various Disney related things. The first one about Frozen and Tangled. There have been many theories surrounding Frozen and Tangled that not only they take place in the same universe, that potentially Anna and Elsa and Rapunzel are all cousins. Because we see Rapunzel and Flynn Rider at Elsa's coronation. So a lot of people believe that these two movies are connected. So this theory goes into the idea of maybe there being a hidden reason why Elsa is really kept from the public. Elsa has no control over her powers. She accidentally hurts Anna, and that makes her parents lock her up. But what if she was really locked up for a different reason? So as we know, Rapunzel was kidnapped as a baby because she had magical powers that Mother Gothel wanted. I believe the news of a young princess being kidnapped would definitely be spread amongst the kingdoms and raise some concern for any other children who had magical powers. Especially if Anna and Elsa are cousins with Rapunzel. Imagine if your niece was kidnapped for having a magical power and your kid also has this power. Like, you're gonna wanna conceal, don't feel. And according to the timelines of all of it, Elsa would have been around 3 years old when Rapunzel was kidnapped, which also lines up with the story of Frozen of when Elsa started having to hide. So it's basically theorized that Anna and Elsa's parents heard about this princess, potentially their niece, being kidnapped, so they decided that they needed to hide Elsa in order to keep her from any people who wanted to kidnap her and take advantage of her powers. The reason I think that this makes so much sense is because if they were truly worried about like Elsa being dangerous, like wouldn't they just like try to help her learn her powers and like actually train her instead of just like locking up their child? Like, I feel like that is a bit of a dramatic take when like obviously Elsa didn't mean to hurt Anna. Let me know your guys' thoughts. I actually feel like this makes a lot of sense. All right, the next thing I want to talk about is kind of the dark side of Disney. So from 1997 to 2003, a man named Paul Pressler was the president of the Disney parks. And this period of time was known as the Dark Ages of Disney. Paul basically made a decision in order to save money, that they would not have the rides go through routine scheduled maintenance and instead would only be fixed when they were broken, which has resulted in some of the worst accidents that the park has ever seen. One of which was really, really sad. A 4-year-old boy named Brandon Zucker fell out of the Roger Rabbit's cartoon spin, basically was dragged underneath one of the other cars, and that caused him to have internal injuries and permanent brain damage. The worst part about this is this was during the time where Disney parks had a policy where cast members were basically instructed upon emergencies to contact Disney's private security center first so that they could then reach out to the paramedics and emergency services, which is crazy because this has resulted in so many delayed communications between the cast member and the emergency personnel. And honestly, like, who knows what could have happened? The paramedics had gotten there faster. Brandon's life and his family's life was completely changed forever. He was unable to speak or walk, and he never spoke or walked again. His entire life changed because of Disney not doing like their job, essentially, of making sure that the rides are safe. Absolutely, like, so terrifying. And Brandon sadly ended up passing away from his injuries at the age of 13 years old. So he just like fully never recovered. And I just think that is like one of the most terrifying stories. The fact that Disney even had a rule, and they still are sketchy about this. They're very, very sketch about things being reported, like negative things happening on Disney property being reported, like people getting hurt, people having heart attacks. At some points in time, they literally had paramedics like not pronounce someone dead at Disney so that they can say no one ever died there. It's honestly really dark. If you want me to do a whole video on it, let me know. Early days of Disney, it was even worse at certain times because obviously like the technology was not as advanced as it is now. Just with all of the stuff that they wanted to hide, like, and want to hide, it's so scary. And honestly, I've heard different stories from cast members who worked there. I've heard different stories from people who worked in hospitals nearby. There's so much dark shit. If you guys want a full video on that, let me know. Anyway, that is it for today's video. If you guys liked it, please give it a big thumbs up. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think of these conspiracy theories. And like I said, let me know of any TV shows or movies that you watched as a child that you maybe want me to talk about different conspiracies surrounding. But yeah, that is it. Make sure you follow me on Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, and subscribe for new videos every week. And I'll see you guys later. Bye.